All right, let's get to the postseason, or at least obviously we're a week in advance here, a week plus. Let's start with the Bruins because they deserve to be started with,
Yeah.
if you will. 60 wins. There's only four teams in history, them being the fourth that have won 60. The 95-96 Red Wings, who could forget them, was 62. And then the 2018-2019 Tampa Bay Lightning was 62. The Bruins can beat that. They got to the President's Trophy, with sooner, I think, or quicker than only, every team ever except for three other teams. They're plus 375 to win it all. But now we know how fickle the NHL postseason can be. And of those four teams that have won 60, the only one that won the Stanley Cup was the 76-77 Canadiens, who won 60. Remember, that Red Wings team and that Lightning team did not get to the promised land in those cases. So, I mean, what do you think here? Are they likely, because it's the NHL postseason, as great as they are they likely to get tripped up, in your opinion, or are they just the juggernaut that won't?
Well, they are a juggernaut. I would attach that word to this team, and what they've done this season is so impressive. To do it over an 82 game stretch to me is an achievement in itself, to win the President's Trophy the way that they did. But looking towards the playoffs, I mean, you mentioned a couple of those teams, Gill. Tampa Bay got swept in the first round. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't see that happening with this Bruins team. That was a total outlier and just probably one of the craziest sweeps I think I've ever seen in professional sports, to have that Tampa Bay team not only lose in the first round but get swept the way that they did. I think the Bruins are going to have a comfortable first round series, whether it's Pittsburgh, Florida, or the Islanders. Those are the three options. I think they're going to beat whoever they get in the first round. Then it gets difficult. Then you're going to have to face either Tampa Bay or Toronto. Two teams I think have a legit claim to the cup. And then one of the Metro teams, probably the Rangers, the Devils, or the Carolina Hurricanes, just to get to the cup final against a Western Conference team. So I'm not biting at the plus 375. I just don't think there's any value in that number. It's been totally crushed down. Should they be the favorites? Absolutely. I think they've deserved it, but I have a feeling, guys, that they get tripped up at some point. And I got my eye on that second round series against either Toronto or Tampa Bay, where I think they could be vulnerable there.
What do you think a series price, speculate on a Toronto or Tampa Bay there would be?
In that, Boston would be a heavy favorite in that series, but I depends on how the teams play in the first round. Like if
Yeah.
Boston struggles through the first round, grinds, has to go 6 or 7 games, maybe you see a little bit of a lower price. But I would probably put them somewhere in the minus 170, minus 180 range for that series. I still think there's going to be a ton of respect to Toronto and Tampa because they're no pushovers. I mean, Tampa's been to three straight Cup finals. I know the Leafs have struggled in the playoffs, but that's a quality team. If they can get through the first round, kind of get that monkey off the back, the Leafs could be a very dangerous team if they can just get through Tampa.
And again, your friendly reminder for those listening who are like, what are you talking about? The Bruins are so great. Again, 80% of NBA favorites in postseason series get through. For that to manifest in hockey, you'd have to play a best of 51. That's how random hockey is. That's what Stats by Lopez. Let's do rapid fire. I'll give you a team. You'll just give me your quick reaction. The Avalanche are the next shortest shot. They're plus 650. Nathan MacKinnon and the Avalanche going for their fourth Stanley Cup. How do you feel about them in all of this?
Yeah, if I were to bet the top of the board, and let's just take like the top four teams here, and we just talked about Boston, my money would go on the Avs. If you gave me $100 right now and said I got to bet one of these teams at the top of the board, I would rather take the Avs at almost twice the price of the Bruins with what I believe is going to be an easier path than Boston. And it does look like they're getting healthier. I don't like the fact that Cale Makar has been banged up basically all season. I would hope that he's healthy come playoff time. They haven't had Gabe Landeskog all year, but I just think that this team has another gear that a lot of teams in the NHL just don't have. So plus 650 for the Avs actually does have my interest because I think they have a pretty clear path to get back to the conference final. And then all of a sudden you're in a hedge position if you really wanted to go with that.
All right. This is for my friends in Toronto, which I know you can relate to the angst up there every year at this time.
Yeah.
The Leafs have not won the Cup famously since 1967. They're 9-1. Might this be the year?
It's been a while. It's been a while since they've won a playoff round. I can still remember it being a kid in high school, and the streets would flood just after a first round series. That's how rabid this fan base is. And if they get through a first round series, I think they're extremely live. Now, the problem for me is I just think Tampa Bay is a really difficult matchup for them, and they've known they're facing Tampa basically all season. Boston ran away with the division, and it's kind of pigeonholed the Leafs and Tampa in that 2-3 matchup. I believe the Lightning have the two best defensemen in the series in Victor Hedman and Mikhail Sergachev, and they clearly have the best goaltender in Andrei Vasilevsky. And those are key factors in a playoff series for me. So when it comes down to it, I think I'm going to be picking the Lightning and just saying, hey, if the Leafs want to prove me wrong and finally get over the hump, it's going to be a close series, but I'm still going to give the edge to the experienced Tampa Bay Lightning.
All right, we'll talk again before the playoffs start. So we'll leave Connor McDavid and the Oilers for a later day. We'll leave the Golden Knights, but I just want to sort of get your thoughts here in the last 90 seconds. What's the team that no one's thinking about, but they're a longer shot?
Yeah.
Could it be the Kings, who have Korpisalo in goal now? What's the team that no one's really got their eyes on? You're like, they could actually win it all.
Well, you led me right into it. It is the LA Kings for me. Now, the problem, and you mentioned it right before that, was Connor McDavid. If they get into a 2-3 matchup with Edmonton, I'm going to have a really difficult time picking that, because I think the Oilers are as good as any team in the league right now. So I would rather see Edmonton win the division and maybe get LA up against Vegas, who they actually play against tonight. I like that matchup a lot better for the Kings. So it's going to come down to what the matchups end up being in the first round. But I really like that Kings team. I really like that Oilers team. I hope they avoid each other in the first round. And keep an eye on the Minnesota Wild. If they can avoid Colorado, at least in the first round, I think they've got a legit chance to actually go on a run this year. Minnesota and playoffs don't go hand in hand. The Wild have struggled to win playoff series almost to the extent of the Leafs. Minnesota Twins haven't won a playoff game since like 2004. So Minnesota sports fans have it tough, but I kind of have a feeling that this team is built to go on a bit of a run this year.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.